Welcome to Amplifyre's interview series. My name is Kristian, and joining me today is the CEO and co-founder at the Appmaster, Matias. Matias, welcome to the series. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you, Kristian, for having me here.
Absolutely, and I'm excited for today's conversation. You know, as the Appmaster has been in the field of software development for a long time, and as we know, the evolution of apps have changed drastically how we live daily. In your experience, how have you seen this evolution over the years, and where do you think it's going?
That's a tough question because where do you think it's going? Technology always surprises us. We always think, oh, okay, this is the next chapter, and suddenly something new comes up, like for example, ChatGPT or things that they're kind of still impress us on a daily basis. But back when we started in 2009. iOS was like the second smartphone on the market because first we had BlackBerry and Steve Jobs was announcing the iPhone 3GS. Android was not to be seen yet. And there were like 10,000 apps in the App Store. So it was pretty at the beginning of the era of mobile technology. And I do remember that no matter who you asked, all the gurus, they always expected certain level of growth for the coming year, and it was always like surpassed like 3 times whatever anyone was expecting. So I think mobile technology has been a revolution. Companies are built on top of just the mobile app, which was unthinkable some years ago. So I think it's very important that we all have in mind that mobile is here to stay. There have been some. I remember when the smartwatch was launched, or the Google Lens. There were some other things that didn't catch up, or they not as strong as mobile as mobile phones. So I think iPads, even tablets, are great, but still they don't have as a strong performance or engagement with the users as their mobile phones. So I think the evolution about where this is going, well, I think the first thing that I thought when I sat down with my co-founder and I saw an iPhone, I thought this is a computer. People are going to be walking around with a computer on their pockets. This is the future. So we need to start building apps for this. So I think this is now a reality, not the future. And I think there's a lot of ways to improve that and to extend the reach of the things that you can do with mobile apps. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's funny that you say, back in 2009, and it feels like, that wasn't that long ago, but you look at where we are with, you said, our computers in our pocket and how reliant we are. And then back in 2009, I had a Motorola Razr or something like this that had like these old, mid-tone ringtones you're paying $2 a ringtone for. So it's amazing,
I remember I had to pay for a ringtone. That's right. Yeah. I had the cool one that Neo had on Matrix, on the Matrix, that you press a button and it opens. But it's funny because the first, I think, couple of 3-4 years that we started pitching mobile apps to companies, I would say 70% of our presentation was to explain what a smartphone was and what are the things that you could do with a smartphone, because people didn't even understand what the technology was. Nokia was the biggest company then on mobile. So
yeah, it's hard to imagine what you cannot not do with a mobile phone nowadays. And that leads me into my next question, because it seems like every day there's a new startup showing up online. What should entrepreneurs look for before venturing into these kinds of projects?
That's a good question. Look, I think there's 3 factors. We work a lot with startups. I would say half of the developments that we work on are with startups, with entrepreneurs. They have an idea that challenges the status quo and how they can innovate or bring something new to the table, build a new product. Not only entrepreneurs, but intrapreneurs, which are how you call entrepreneurs within a big company, that they see how things are working and said, this is something that we can improve with the use of software. So there's actually 3 factors that we always take care of whenever we work with a startup. The first one, you always have to be budget conscious. You don't know how long your funding will last, even if you're funded like we are. When we started, all this talk about entrepreneurs, angel investors, accelerators, and all we never heard about those. Back in 2009, it wasn't as cool as today to have a startup, or at least not where in the circles that we moved around. But I would say take care of every cent like it would be the last. And that's the first thing that when we work with a startup, we always take care of. We are always conscious that the budget is limited and we have to work to make the best out of the budget. The second one is always remember you have to think of an MVP. There's a lot of clients or companies that we work with that they have this vision of an app that is too complicated to be a first version of the app. And you always have to have in mind that it's very important for you to get to the market with your product, with the leanest version of your app that is good for you to start generating revenue, generating awareness, getting user base, to start generating word of mouth. But that doesn't mean that you can start working on release 1, release 2, release 3 the minute you finish the MVP. But it's very important that you have that mentality, that you have to prepare something that you have to launch as soon as possible. Because there's also a proof of that you need to get from the market, but that is going to also help you to maybe raise funding if you ever need to. And the third one is that whatever you build needs to be scalable. Don't waste time and money on building something that is not properly built, so that whenever the project explodes or generates a lot of revenue, you can continue working on top of it. Because that's one of the biggest failures that we saw in the market with many projects, that they were built thinking on the first year of the app, but they never had a vision of what was going to happen on the third year or the fourth year if the app is going to grow. I do remember that, for example, there was one year, I can't recall exactly which year, but Facebook didn't launch any improvements during a whole year because they had to rebuild the whole platform, because they never expected this is Facebook we're talking about. So they could never expect the tremendous amount of growth that they had. But sometimes that could hold back a business if you have to stop the project and start rebuilding it again. So it's always important that you have in mind that whatever you build needs to be scalable. And there's things that you can do when you start a project, when you run a good analysis and you have a discovery, so that you understand where you want to be, just to avoid those kind of problems in the future.
And I think we should expand a bit on some of the things that you said. You know, being able to be scalable and future proof and all these different things. And the more digitized we become, the more these technologies, change, or new technologies emerge. You mentioned ChatGPT earlier, and it can just change the whole game. So, how should software development companies, prepare or brace themselves for these kinds of changes?
One thing that we do at the App Master is that we spend between 5 to 10% of the hours of our team on training. It doesn't matter if they all are like senior developers. There's always something new that they can look into, that they can take some online courses or do some research, because the market is evolving constantly. And we've seen a lot of trends that just, like I mentioned before, smartphones, Google Lens, it's like everything. Oh, you have to have a smartwatch app, because everything is going to be managed from the watches on the future, or you have to build something for Google Lens. It's important that you're always aware of what's going on, but you can't just pivot the direction of your company or your project just based on that. You have to go with your gut instinct, but it's always better if your gut instinct is based on actual data and information, and you're well informed of what's going on. Because I do remember there was a time that if you didn't mention cloud or HTML5 to a client, they said, oh, if it's not HTML5, I don't want it. And nobody knew what HTML5 was actually about. So I think it's important that you are aware of the things that are going on, what are the trends, and to see beyond if it's just a trend or if it's actually a game changer. Like, for example, I think ChatGPT right now it is.
And I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into the things that we were talking about, and I think this conversation should go on further. We can probably talk for a long time together on this kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But if people are interested in finding out more about the App Master, where can they go?
Well, we have our webpage, theappmaster.com. We are also on LinkedIn. You can find us there. We have our profile on Amplifyre as well. You can learn about the different projects that we work on. Right now, I think we surpassed 250 custom software development projects in this past 14 years that we've been working. So we're pretty excited. We're a big team. We're based mostly in Argentina. We do have part of our team also in the United States, in other countries. That was something that changed after lockdown. We were all based like in a radius of our office, right here where I'm right now, in Buenos Aires. But then we realized, well, the game has changed and we had to change with it. So, and that was not just a trend, that was actually a reality. So right now we have people spread all over the country and in some other countries as well. But yeah, I think you can find us, theappmaster.com. That probably is the easiest way to find us right now.
Brilliant. So, of course, links will be in the description. I just want to say, Matias, it's been an interesting conversation. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Well, thank you, Kristian, and looking forward to talk to you again whenever you want.